live out to San Pedro, California, that sprawling metropolis, and our own Mark and Brian and friends.
Hey, Steve. How you doing?
Good, boys. How are you?
Well, fine. Listen, first of all, we want to thank you for letting us intrude on your program.
You're so very, 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 very welcome.
Ain't we neat?
You know, and I think intrude is probably the choice of words.
Good choice of words.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Protrude, perhaps.
Steve, let us set up a situation. We are in Jackie's home now, as you put it, the haunted lady.
Mm-hmm.
It's a one-bedroom apartment, and Jackie is here. Barry, the guy who approached her about a little over a year ago to do a documentary on what has been happening to her, is here.
And we're going to be hearing a couple of three different things. First of all, Barry has several phone calls that Jackie has made to him during various nights when things would be happening, and you can hear the excitement in her voice, and so we're going to be trying to plug into some of those. Maybe the best thing to do for those listeners of Steve's that don't listen to our program, damn it, why not? But if you haven't heard
Because
the
they're
story,
sleeping with us, probably. They're just snoozing.
but maybe best is to have Barry and Jackie help set this story up as to where it began and what's taking place. Barry, when were you first alerted to the fact that there's something happening in this home?
Yeah, I was alerted to the case back in August of 1989, and it was really a night that I'll never forget. It really was, because we were called down. I was with my one of my associates, Barry Taff, and he told us about this case. He'd heard about it. We went down there to this little house, and I also took a good friend of mine who works with me, Jeff Wheatcraft, along. He's a great still photographer. And we went inside the house and we listened to her story just as much as you're here right now listening to some of her stories about this case. And one of the things that intrigued us about this case was the fact that Jackie had seen an apparition of an old man. And she saw it not in a hazy form, but she saw it in a very solid form. It actually appeared in her kitchen and in her bedroom and sat there and usually would disappear. She usually saw it out of the peripheral vision.
And this was 3 locations ago, was it not?
That was 3 locations ago. That was in the original location, which was right here in this town.
Now, one of the most unusual things about this particular situation is that this is not a haunted house. This is a young lady that is haunted. No matter where she goes or where she moves, this entity seems to follow her.
That's correct. At first, we thought the other that it possibly was a haunted house. Later on, Jackie moved out of this house. Actually, 300 miles away, she moved up to Weldon, California, which is up near Mojave, near Lake Isabella, and the entity followed her. There was more activity.
More than originally.
Actually, yes, according to Jackie, there was more activity there. It actually stepped up its activities.
But you were on our show last week. You brought the videotape of the documentary you're producing on this case, on her. Could you maybe sum it up sort of in a synopsis of what exactly went on, those 2 or 3 things, the major deals?
Sure, I will. I'd say that the major events that took place, as I said, we were in the house on August 8th, 1989. We went into this attic because of the house, because she said that she had seen a disembodied head floating in the attic. And my friend Jeff Wheatcraft went up there with a camera, and a few minutes later had his camera pulled out of his hands. And the lens had been separated once the camera was found in the attic. My video camera power went out when I went up there. He was immediately pushed by something unseen, left internal bruising in his back. He had to see a chiropractor. Later on in the Weldon case, actually I should back up a little bit. The next major event, there were many things that happened, but the next major event that took place happened in the very early morning hours of September 4th, and we responded, myself, Jeff Wheatcraft, good friend Gary Bame, and I might mention that Jeff Wheatcraft had been a skeptic, total skeptic, about ghosts and poltergeists before this. They went down there. We all went down there to the house, and they decided to go back up in the attic one more time. I was just below the attic with a camera, and a little later on we heard a scream. And Jeff actually was physically hung by this entity with a piece of cord wrapped around his neck. Fortunately, we got him down. He wasn't killed. And I have some video of him coming out of the attic. Unfortunately, we didn't get any of that on tape as far as the actual hanging, but we do have photographs of it immediately after it happened.
And since then, there have been other happenings, paranormal happenings.
Yes, there have. And when Jackie moved to Weldon, shortly after the hanging incident, because obviously that was extremely frightening, after she moved to Weldon, she had called me and said that there was more activity. She'd seen strange lights flying around, which is the basis of what we got in our videotape. We did manage to capture quite a number of these lights. And we went up there, and again, we had paranormal activity up there. A camera was moved on a tripod by itself. And a little bit later on, again, Jeff Wheatcraft, who works with me, was actually physically levitated and thrown against the wall in the kitchen.
This is when you were using a Ouija board to try to communicate with the ghost.
Yes, it was. It's not the real orthodox thing that we would normally do on an investigation, but it was there, and we just were playing around with it a little bit just for fun, actually, more than anything. Not that we think that anything would happen. And indeed, the room got cold. Table shook violently. There was candles kept going out. Our chairs vibrated, and it actually picked Jeff up and levitated him and threw him against this wall with unbelievable force. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
All right, now that's the situation that we're dealing with and that we plugged into this. And at this point, we're basically taking people's word for what had happened. Kerry Gaynor, a guy that we became associated with a couple of years ago, who was instrumental in the making of the film The Entity, and that he had investigated that particular situation. He's with us tonight, and he's going to be observing, as the rest of us will be. And if anything happens, he can maybe help us explain.
Kerry, thanks for letting us pull you out of your house tonight.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's nice to be here.
Now, one thing for Steve's listeners, tomorrow, Kerry is going to be coming into the program at some point, we're hoping, and tell us about the story that led to the making of the film The Entity, because, again, he was the guy that investigated that and was with the young lady that had to deal with that particular situation throughout the entire ordeal. And it is a riveting story to hear, because he's a very factual kind of guy. He doesn't state things that didn't happen.
Would you consider yourself a skeptic?
Sure. I enter into a situation and try to determine what's really going on.
Okay, now you saw the video that we saw when Barry came into the studio last week. You were just sitting there watching it. Can we ask you your thoughts on it?
Well, I certainly don't have much to say. I just took a cursory look at it. The light images are interesting and hard to explain, but it is something that would have to be examined a lot further.
In the video, there are all sorts of light images, and these seem to be popping up all over in your documentary, as well as things that have happened to you and Jackie. We're going to introduce Jackie now. She's been kind enough to let us come into her home for the evening. Jackie, how's things going?
Pretty good.
Okay, you and Barry were talking about things, actual happenings, experiences last night. You went over to his house?
Yes.
Could you explain that?
Well, I went over to drive a friend of his to the airport. He was working at the time, and this friend of his was really interested in what was going on, because she has had some she's things have happened to her in the past, you know, and so she was really interested in what was happening to me, and she wanted to see something, but she didn't really. She came over here and she saw a couple balls of lights, and that was about it. The doll case over on the wall over there vibrated while she was here.
This was last night?
No, this was last week. So I went over to give her a ride to the airport, and I left a little early, and we were there talking for about 2 hours, and lights started going on and off in his house, and when it goes over to his house, the first sign it gives is it turns on his gas burners, and that happened. And this girl left, and she was really freaked out about the whole thing. She said she wanted to see something, and now she was sorry she had, because it really freaked her out, all the things that happened.
What about you? How are you feeling? This thing's been following you around for, what, close to 2 years?
Yeah, it's been about 2 years. I was 4 months pregnant with my daughter, so it's been about 2 years.
Is it an everyday fear for you?
No, but it's almost as if the entity has a personality, and sometimes it's friendly, it's got moods, and when it's in a bad mood and when it's angry, it lets you know, it shows you that it is, and that's when I really fear a lot.
Has it ever harmed you?
It's pushed me a few times. I felt a hand on my back a few times, but no, it did try to smother me. I left the house in the middle of the night with my 2 children.
Try to smother you with what?
Itself. I was laying down. This was when it was angry, and I was laying in the front room. A friend of mine just left. She said she didn't want to leave, but she had to leave. It was midnight. I knew I wasn't going to go to sleep that night because I was so frightened. And I laid down. I had both kids right next to me by the front door. I had the TV turned on. Every light in the house was turned on. And when my friend left, we had an overhead fan, and she turned it off. And I just closed my eyes for a second just to rest my eyes, not even intending to go to sleep. And I couldn't breathe. It was as if somebody was sitting on my face. So I tried to get up and prop myself on my elbows, and I couldn't do that. It was like as if somebody was just holding me down, and I could not breathe. I was getting very, very scared. And then I heard one of the kids next to me, and I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was like a maternal thing or if it was just let me go. But all of a sudden I heard one of the kids, and I thought about, I've got to get away, and then it just released me. And I called my friend who only lived half a mile from my house, and she drove, and she wasn't even home yet. Her daughter came and picked me up, and I just left with 2 kids. I've had babysitters leave in the middle of the house. I've had 3 people leave in the middle of the night with my kids because they wouldn't stay at the house.
Okay, so that's pretty much the situation we're dealing with.
This house here. this one we're in right now.
No, the other house, the first house.
Oh, okay.
And the one in Weldon. They've also left that one, too.
Okay. Now, when you were over at his house last night, over at Barry's house, the other guy that is in the video as well, who's been handling this with you, Barry, called up, or you called him?
Yeah, we called him up. I usually touch base with him because he does work for me on a freelance basis, and just to see how he was doing. And Jackie was there at that point, and I think we both talked to him briefly. And I believe Jackie spoke with him, and I got back on the phone. And a few minutes later, Jeff had said that his bed was shaking in the bedroom, and it shook several times. And then he left and came back, and apparently it was gone a little bit later on.
All right, we have several things that you're going to hear throughout the night, so we invite you to stay tuned if this intrigues you. But this is the story that we've set up for you, and this is why we're here.
We're here, all right.
Yeah,
here we are.
There's film crews to document if anything does take place, and they've got all their crap set up. So we invite you to stand by. We should be doing another one in 30 minutes or so.
Now, one thing Jackie has said, you said this as soon as we got here, that we stand a better than 50% chance of something happening tonight?
I feel you do because, like I said, it has moods, and I feel like it's in an angry mood. And I know this is like way out, but the technical difficulty that you had this morning, I just have a feeling that had something to do with it. And those women that called in that had those dreams, this is way far out. This is just my own opinion.
We'll explain the dream thing next break. We had some listeners call up that said they had some dreams about this evening of us being here. And then when we got here, Jackie said that she somehow felt connected to that. So, from Jackie's home, we will be back in just a few minutes.
Stand by. Steve Downs' program kind of let us come in. Mark and Brian from location in San Pedro. Nice in that introduction.
Yeah, thank you very much for that,
Let's
Steve.
return now. You know, everything's all right if it wasn't for that bat flying around and... Oh, God, here he comes again!
Did you hear that this morning, Steve?
No, but I heard your reenactment, which was even more thrilling.
God.
Yeah.
Ralph Edwards, baby.
Yes, sir, Reba.
Made my heart go a flutter.
That's what the good stuff is.
While we were playing those commercials, Barry asked Jackie how she felt right now, and we just thought he was asking about her health or whatever, and then we find out he was asking her if she felt a presence of any kind here. And Jackie, your response was?
Yeah, I do feel that it is here right now.
So you feel as though at some point tonight we're going to see something?
Yes and no. I can't very well say for sure, but I do feel that it is here right now, and I don't feel that it's very happy.
Because we're here?
I don't know. It's just it's hard to describe to explain how I feel this way. Barry's always asking, "How do you feel this? How do you feel this?" When he asked me, "Is it here?" He always asks me that wherever I go. Is it here? Is it here?
Well, no. What it is, he's pissed that Brian took the last Dr. Pepper. Is what the deal is. You know.
Really sorry. Let me go down to the drugstore. In fact, I'll spend a few hours down there. Like I may be back in 4 or 5 hours, guys.
Now we spent the last break setting up. Again, the story as to why we're here and what we're doing. Barry is the independent film producer who's making a documentary concerning this particular subject. He has some stuff on film that we're going to listen to, various people that have made comments and such.
As well as phone calls. Am I right? Yeah.
That's
phone
correct.
calls
That's correct.
that Jackie has made to Barry right after or during.
That's right. Obviously, I don't have all the phone calls here, but I do have a couple phone calls I've been able to pick out real quickly for you. I think some of what you're about to hear are, I think it was right after she had called me, right after she'd been attempted to be smothered, and then there's a phone conversation with her and I and Susan Castaneda, who was also a key witness in this case, who is not here tonight, but at the time they were seeing balls of light, at the actual moment when they were seeing balls of light in the original house.
So the first thing we're about to hear now is?
I believe is just the audio that was taken just after Jackie was attempted to be smothered, I believe.
Every light in the house was on, and I closed my eyes for just a second or two, and all of a sudden I couldn't breathe anymore. I felt like I was just being suffocated. I opened my eyes, and there was nothing, for me to be feeling. There's nothing on my face or anything that I could feel, so I tried to sit up, and I felt the pressure holding my head down. I couldn't even sit up. The thing was right. It happened as soon as she went out the door, and...
Jackie?
Listen.
Yeah, Susan?
I didn't want to... I was afraid to fall asleep here last night, and I told her... What was that?
That's me. I'm recording the conversation. I'm through my answer machine in case we can use it later on.
I figured I'd stay here till midnight. I was here 4 hours, and nothing really happened in the 4 hours.
Yes.
Except she got poked in the shoulder. Just before that... just before I left, and I stayed until 12, and I have to go to sleep or I can't work, I can't stay awake all night long. Oh, I heard it breathe last night. Awesome.
You heard it breathe again, huh?
When I heard that, Barry, I said, I am not staying in this house, and I'm not going to sleep in this house. I can tell you that, because I wouldn't want to meet up with what made that noise. What was that?
Did you see that?
No.
Look.
Get the camera.
Get the camera.
Where is it? Where is it?
Right over there, right there in the bag.
You see that whole piece?
What happened?
I saw a light. Up So what's doing that, Jackie? I see it again.
That was just at the very moment when they were seeing a light show in the original house. Of course, they saw many of them. Obviously, we couldn't be there with our camera equipment every time that they saw a ball of light, but that gives you an example of the excitement and kind of the terror that one feels when they see something that is definitely of a paranormal origin.
Has anything been done, Jackie, to rid you of this particular situation?
That's the reason I came down from Weldon, was to find somebody. I've had top psychics tell me things. I've had
Tell you things. What have they told you?
Yolanda, who has shown me that she does possess powers beyond normal people by telling me about my past. She has said that it's attached to me because of my energies, and that's why I don't understand that. I just understand that some people possess energies that the ghosts can operate off of, whereas other people, as my ex-husband, he had the negative energy, and whenever he was around, it was dormant. It's because the same reason that my energy is positive, his was negative. So the psychics have explained that to me.
Might want to consider getting back with the old ex.
That could help you.
Well, I did.
Oh, okay, and what happened?
It confronted him. As a matter of fact, it confronted him, and it told him that there was no way that he was gonna. It has this way of semi-possessing a person, and it would cause these fights between us I saw some smoke enter the back of his head at one time.
What?
I saw a cloud of smoke enter the back of his head. It was a stupid argument over taking Jamie to the store or not, and he just went berserk. And it was as if this thing was halfway controlling him over what to do, so I would kick him out of the house.
Well, no, what that was is your ex-husband was pissed that Brian took the last Dr. Pepper. Is what it was.
I like my Dr. Pepper. You said it appeared in front of him and told him this? Was it the apparition? Was it?
Yeah, it was the apparition, and the apparition has talked to him right before Jeff got the camera taken out of his hands the first night. My ex-husband was there, and he didn't believe any of this because, like I said, when this thing started, it was because it started when he moved in with me. We were separated in November, and in February his house burned down, and he moved in with me, and then things started falling, all over the place, and then we started fighting. Now this time I didn't realize why we were fighting or anything like that, and I kicked him out, and then he didn't believe that anything was happening, and he was there the night Jeff got hung, and he was in the bedroom, and we were all out in the other room doing what we were doing, and right before Jeff got the camera pulled out of his hands, he heard something say, "Get them the heck out of here," so to speak, but a little stronger. Mm-hmm. And he said that the voice was so clear and so it was as if it was right next to him. He turned around and answered it.
Now, we were speaking with your ex-husband a moment ago before he had come to get the kids and he was leaving, and he had said that he was a very heavy skeptic until he had heard the voice you're just now talking about. And he had explained to us that it was very loud and very clear, and that he heard each and every word and fully understood it and heeded what the ghost had told him.
Yeah.
I believe I do the same.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And if we hear that, we're out of here.
What about your kids? There's a theory that children, animals can see these kind of things more vividly than adults can. Have they seen anything? Your son is how old?
My son is 4 years old.
4 years old.
And he has definitely, this thing started when he was 2 years old. And how much do you remember when you were 2 years old? Not much, but I can guarantee you this kid will remember everything that has happened to him. He was literally picked in front of Barry Conrad and myself, picked up and thrown. I mean, it was like as if he was like picked up a couple feet and thrown as he was coming from in between room to room.
So you were standing or sitting there watching this happen?
Right.
The baby was picked up 2 feet off the ground?
Yeah, and just like shoved.
And like hurt or just rolled, tossed a little bit? What was the...
Well, he got up and he had this very, very confused look on his face, and he turned around to see his, because I've been pushed, so I have felt that.
What was that?
That was my doorbell.
Oh, okay. We just heard a sound. We're like, what was that?
Oh, God.
It was the doorbell.
Oh,
Feeling, listening to these stories, not sure what you're thinking there at home or in your car listening to this, but as we get more into it, you get little chills occasionally when you hear you tell your stories, Jackie, and as well as you, Barry. Whether what we're hearing is true. I'm sure it's true to you. We're not denying it, but what it has really happened. If these things really happen, you got to wonder, and you have to consider, and you have to look around the house to see if these lights are around constantly.
Well, also when you have so many people that are involved in this particular story that are believing, and they have various things that tend to make you want to believe. We do have several other things that we're going to be sharing with you throughout the night. Other phone calls, other sentences and things said by various people that are professionals and that are involved in this particular situation.
As well as reporting to you exactly what goes on in this apartment tonight as we spend the evening. If we see anything, we'll sure tell you about it, and if we don't, we'll tell you about it.
You're listening to the Steve Downs program. We are Mark and Brian from San Pedro. We invite you to come back with us and enjoy this.
See you, Steve.
Bye, guys.
Oh, it's Joe.
Oh, Joe. This is you, Joe?
Oh, no, I'm Steve. I've been transported.
Hey, Joe comes in at 10. Hey, how you doing, Joe?
Right.
You guys are staying up real late.
Yeah, just what we need is Joe Benson's voice.
95.5 KLOS. Let's see what's happening here. Let's see what's happening over here. Hello, guys. Hi, guys. What's happening?
Yeah, Joe, sorry to break in on your song. Something just did happen. We lost power in this apartment. And from what we understand, it's the only apartment in the complex that lost power. A total blackout. All right, Kerry Gaynor, who is, again, our parapsychologist involved in this, he went out and checked. And even the light that lights the doorway of the apartment is still burning. But the actual power of this entire apartment, just this one unit, has gone out. Currently, Engineer Chris is trying to get us back on with battery power, but we're over the phone at this point and don't really know what's happening. We're calling over the house phone that's here. People are starting to slightly freak out around here. The cameramen getting the cameras ready. The only light we have is over with a Bic lighter.
Tell Joe to bring the board back up. We have one microphone.
Joe, okay, we have one.
Joe, can you hear that?
There you go, guys.
Is this on battery power, Chris?
Okay. All right, we're on battery power, and we're talking into one microphone. When the lights went out, and we found out that it was only this one apartment unit that had gone, Jackie, who was sitting right next to us, simply made the comment, "This is it." So we're kind of clearing the room now with chairs and such, and hoping that if anything is going to happen, it may happen here and now.
Kerry, can we talk to you for a minute? Sure. Okay. Kerry, your approach on these kind of things have always been one as a skeptic or just to go and see what you can see. Can you explain what you feel is happening here?
Well, very basically, there's a blackout, and the light just outside the apartment is on. I've checked the units on the left and the right. The lights in their units are on, so the power's on everywhere except this place. But as to what the cause of a blackout is, that's anyone's guess.
Now, from a skeptic standpoint, a friend of Jackie's or someone just playing a joke could have pulled the power. That's possible. But, again, how would they know where to go? How would you pull the power on one unit?
It's a security building. They couldn't get in the garage.
It's a secure building. No one could get in the garage without actually living here. So we're as up in the air as you are. This power outage happened not maybe 2 minutes ago, total of 2 minutes, and we came on the air as soon as it had taken place.
We've got some candles lit in the living room. From Kerry's suggestion, we were turning down the lights anyway. All lights were off. Of course, we had the power on, and
Phone works.
Phone works. The lights were turned low so we can see any arcs of light that were in the videotape and that they were describing earlier. So far, we haven't seen any.
All right, now we have a couple of things. As soon as we regain power, we have some footage, some audio footage of various people that have experienced things happening with Jackie and in the places that she had lived, and we're going to share those with you as soon as we're able to regain power. And again, we don't know why it is, but this is the only unit in this apartment building that has lost power.
Kerry, can we talk to you? Kerry's on the phone with whoever just called. Can we ask you a couple of questions? I'm sorry, Jackie. Can we talk to you for a second?
Okay, bye.
Okay. Jackie, you said to us when the lights went out that... or hang on, they're trying to find the breaker panel. I think it's down by the garage, she said. What? Yeah, we're still on the air. Okay, they're trying to find the fuse box or something.
Hey, Kerry, let us ask you a question. Hang on one second. How much cord do we have? Can we get in there?
You're going downstairs? Okay. Okay, Jackie, what are you feeling right now?
I feel that it's very strong. I feel that it is definitely has something. It is definitely it. I knew something was going to happen when you guys were here. I told you that. And
what do you mean it's definitely it?
It's definitely whatever has been following me for the last 3 years, 2 years.
It's here now?
It's here right now. It was here all day today. And my friend Chrissy, who has been with this from the beginning to the end, who is here now, today she was with me today, and she has never seen the balls of light. Today there was balls of light all over this apartment. And those people who called in and had those dreams, they were telling you the truth, dude. Dude, they were telling you the truth. I'm sorry, I'm just like, I'm freaking right now because this is like, who knows what's going to happen next. This is just the electricity.
Well, if it was just the electricity, then the other apartments would have been affected, you would think.
You would think. It rains.
Whoa. Oh, jeez. Oh, jeez.
They went down to the garage.
Okay, the power's back on now. And this room was just filled with a bunch of lights. Okay.
All right, Kerry, let us ask you a question. Would, and from your experience with what you dealt with the entity and that film being made, would the presence of a spirit have the capability of removing something like power, electricity, from one apartment building?
Well, first of all, we don't know if it's a spirit. It may be caused, this kind of thing may be caused by energy given off by what we call a poltergeist agent. Certainly power outages are very consistent with haunted house research or poltergeist research. It happens all the time with individual equipment, with whole apartments. It happens all the time. But in this particular apartment, there's a lot of equipment plugged in that isn't normally used in this apartment, and that certainly may have something to do with it.
Okay. All right. That, again, is from a skeptical point of view, which is what we like about Kerry, in that he does look at everything. What could have it been other than the spirit? And that's why tomorrow when Kerry joins us on the program and talks about his research that went into the film The Entity is so riveting because it's factual. Nothing is assumed. Everything he tells you is fact. So again, if you just joined us on this, we lost power in this apartment unit only. The rest of the building remained with electricity.
Jackie, you were saying that you felt connected to the girls, the callers who called in about having dreams about us coming here tonight. Did you hear the one, which call did you hear?
I didn't hear any of the calls. I heard the name before, and then Nicole, your producer, told me about the dreams, and then she gave me the name Sharon, and I heard the name Sharon. Chrissy and I were messing around, and it gave us the name Sharon before I even heard her on the phone.
What gave you the name Sharon?
We were messing around with the Ouija board because we were trying to attract it for you guys tonight. I mean, not attractive, but, we don't want you guys to come here and be disappointed and not see anything.
Oh, if we don't see anything, it'll be just fine.
I could be too disappointed. No, actually, I ain't looking forward to really anything being here or anything. Because, good TV on at about 11:30. I think
make it home. On 56.
Make it home. I think Star Trek starts at 12.
Check that out.
How about that?
Captain Kern.
All right. Well, a little, the lights are back on, and just a little kind of spark up the back there for a while. Yeah. And even a greater one when the lights came back on because nobody told us they were going to.
Yeah, a little ploppage in our drawers is what we're saying.
We're going to to take a break here and let Joe get back to some music, and we will be back shortly.
All right, one thing again that we will be sharing with you, we have some comments from the videotape film that the independent producer is making, footage of people that have experienced various things with Jackie and inside the apartment that you'll hear. And we're also going to get a couple of people by phone that have dealt with a couple of situations. So we invite you to stand by. We're just into the wee hours of Hallows Eve, so we invite you to stand by. From San Pedro, Mark and Brian on the Joe Benson program. Come on back with us.
Speaking of Kerry, we're going to ask him now. As we said before, he's our skeptic. We brought him in. He has had experience with paranormal activity. And could we ask you, Kerry, what your approach is towards this?
Well, to begin with, we interview all the occupants of the house and try to get all the witnesses to tell us everything that's happened. We then try to ascertain whether it's a case that's worth investigating, and if we think it is, we do first-hand research. So we go into the house, we place ourselves in the environment, and try to witness whatever we can so that we don't have to rely on other people's testimonies. In addition to witnessing it, we try to record it with whatever equipment we can bring in.
All right, now, Kerry, you yourself, you do approach this from a skeptic's field. You categorize yourself as a parapsychologist. Can you ever get a feel if you enter a situation where there is a supposed entity? Can you yourself get the kind of feeling maybe a person with ESP would receive, or do you just approach this as a skeptic, as a parapsychologist?
Well, the word skeptic keeps coming up. I'm more comfortable with the word parapsychologist. I'm a researcher. I investigate this phenomena. I don't have a predetermined opinion as to what is going on in the environment. I simply go in and try to determine what is happening once I'm there. But no, I don't really get too many feelings myself. We just try to study the environment and record anything we can with our equipment.
You've seen things, have you ever been knocked around, pushed around, touched, moved, things thrown at you?
I've been grabbed a few times.
All right, let us ask you this point-blank question. And again, this is the guy, the parapsychologist, that brought you the motion picture, The Entity. He was the researcher who dealt with that particular deal. Are you, Kerry, as an individual, a true and firm believer in the fact that there are spirits and situations that can move about in this material world that we know today?
Well, I think there's something going on. I've certainly witnessed enough to be motivated to continue to do this research. So I think there's something very important going on, very significant going on, and something that can tell us a lot more about the nature of reality and the nature of our beings. As to what it is, I really haven't made up my mind. I just think there's something enigmatic that we can't explain by our current understanding, and I certainly hope to figure it out at some point in my life.
Is this a quest for you? Are you devoting part of your life towards this until you find out the answers?
Well, it's certainly the only thing that has dominated my interest completely for the last 18 years.
Have you tried model rocketry?
Because that's a fine hobby.
I don't know if you've tried that.
For a growing young boy.
You get an Estes catalog.
You know, hey.
You get like the Big Bertha 2.
You got to be a 5 advanced rocketeer to put the Saturn V together.
This is a kind of a strange interest, but also one that you've completely devoted your life to. What we're about to see now is, you're going to hear it, sections from the videotape of this documentary that Barry is making. We heard this last week on the air. And Kerry, view this if you could and tell us what your thoughts on it. This is where Barry's assistant is in the attic. Oh, Barry, why don't you set this up for us?
Okay, basically what this is a trailer. Actually, you're hearing the audio from a video trailer that I'm producing for the documentary. It's actually promoting the documentary. My friend Jeff Wheatcraft was the central character in all this. He had gone into the attic with a friend of mine, Gary Bame, to see whether or not there was any activity up there, because, as you know, from the first time that we went up there, he had his camera grabbed from out of his hands, and the lens had been separated. So he and Gary Bame went into the attic.
Again. They went into the attic again.
They went into the attic again, that's correct.
You got to wonder why.
And, well, you know, it's sort of curiosity. You know, it's something that's so phenomenal, you want to know more about it. As I say, the first time Jeff was pushed, he wasn't really injured seriously at that time. He just had some small bruises. But he wanted to go back in because that particular night, Jackie had an incredible amount of activity. The ghost had been throwing things at her. I believe it may have been shortly before that she had been almost smothered by an unseen force. And at this point, they went into the attic, and what you're about to hear is the actual sound of Jeff being hung. He actually a rope, or actually a cord rather, was placed around his neck, and he was placed onto. He was hung over a nail that was protruding from a rafter up there. Shortly before that, before the hanging, I had seen a ball of light down below the attic, and our friend Susan Castaneda witnessed the same ball of light and heard a snapping sound in our ears. It was like just like someone snapping their fingers.
Okay, let's roll that now.
You always read about, but you think it's never going to happen to you. But it did happen.
What's wrong?
What happened?
What?
I told you, get down! Get down!
This was the most frightening event of all. Something had hung photographer Jeff Wheatcraft in the attic.
Come on down, Jeff. What happened? Put something around my neck. Oh, shit.
Oh, my God.
Jeff, get down. Get down right now.
Oh, my God. I knew it.
Please, get down. Please. What is that, Gary? What is it? I don't know. Just get down out of here.
The destructive potential of the apparition was no longer in question.
Here you go, buddy. Here you go. What's happening? Are you okay, buddy?
Oh, my God.
Look at his neck.
Look,
Jeff,
come on.
What's behind your neck?
I don't know what's on my
Come
neck.
on, come on, down. Come on, down.
A piece of rope.
Oh, shit.
Gary, get down out of there, buddy.
Can you find my glasses?
Gary, Jeff.
Look at this. Look at
Jeff,
this.
turn the
Jeff,
camera.
Jeff, are you okay?
Jeff,
I'm fine.
Jeff, tell me what happened, buddy.
Well, I don't know, Gary. I told Gary that there was nothing happening up there, and he turned around and came. He was coming this way. All of a sudden, I feel this thing around my neck, and it's got me hanging, and it's pulling on my leg. I was a tremendous skeptic, I guess, but what happened to me was something way beyond what I'd ever thought that could possibly happen. It would have definitely killed me. It would have definitely killed me. I feel that. I really feel that now. All of a sudden, I had this thing around my neck, and it's pulling me like this, up and hooks me on something. Gary had to take me off.
Okay, again, you heard the actual footage of this individual who was in the home that Jackie lived in before this particular residence.
Now, in preparation for this break, Barry gave us permission to call Jeff, the guy you just heard that was hung in the attic, and to go on the air and tell us his thoughts and feelings of what happened to him, and he would not. At first he said okay, and then he backed out. Basically because this thing has something against Jeff. Is that what you said?
That's right, apparently so, because as you know, the first night we went in there, he was pushed. The second incident that took place, he was actually physically hung by this entity. The third time, he was levitated and thrown against the wall in the trailer in Weldon, and that happened in front of not only myself, but in front of Jackie Hernandez and the a young lady named Tina Lawler, I believe, and that was up in Weldon, and she was a total skeptic as well, had never seen anything supernatural.
So he has experienced paranormal activity in his home now, is it?
Very little, actually. He had some bed shakings going on there, and that's happened a couple of times, but other than that, very little, but it has happened. Mostly it's been in my place, when he's there especially.
And so when Jackie is over to your house?
Not always. Sometimes that happens, but sometimes the phenomena seems to linger after she's actually left my apartment. And she can be gone. Actually, one time she had been over like for a couple of hours one day. About 3 days later, phenomena started happening. We had scissors placed under my pillows. Jeff was pushed in the apartment, pushed down. We had objects turned upside down. We had balls of light that were visible in the apartment moving through the walls. There was any number of, what you would think of as poltergeist happenings taking place, and when they usually happen, they happen very rapidly, and they, like right now, we're all sitting here and there's not a darn thing happening, and believe me, I understand people out there who are skeptical because it's hard to believe something like this could be possible, but it does happen, and it just takes that one experience to let you know.
All right, now, you say, Barry, that this entity has entered your home and done some things after Jackie has visited. Has anybody else, any member of your crew, had to deal with these types of things in their home? Or does it only happen when Jackie visits?
Yes, Susan Castaneda, who I believe is going to talk with you a little bit later on, she's been a very key witness to all this, too. She's a good friend of Jackie. She was involved in the case from the very start. And she witnessed some things, I believe, in her place. I believe a ball of light was seen.
While Jackie was there?
I believe so, but
Yeah.
I believe a few other things had moved around over there, but I'm not quite sure on that. There was some minor activity over there.
We have Susan Castaneda.
Mhm.
Is that it? So we have Susan on the phone live, coming from the studio. Joe, can you hook her up?
Oh, Susan, you're there, aren't you?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go for it.
All right, Susan, we've got Barry and Jackie are both here, and if you could simply tell us some of the things that you've experienced because of this particular situation.
Oh, I was there from the beginning, the night they first came to the house, and when Jeff first went in the attic and the camera was torn from his hands, I was there. I was talking to the fellow a little bit earlier before I came on, and I was telling him I think I listed 26 different phenomena that I saw with my own eyes that I still have trouble believing that I experienced what I did that summer here in San Pedro in that house. It's like you see things like this happen and you can't categorize, you can't put that away anywhere in your brain. There's nowhere to file that. And that whole summer was like clouded with that experience. That was my my perception of it. I didn't go into it. I've never been a skeptic about things like that, but I never really believed that I would experience what I did. And when I just heard that tape of that night when he was hanged in the attic, I have to tell you that my skin just crawled.
You were there that night?
I was there that night. I was one of the voices you hear saying, "Come down, come down, come down," because we were standing below that attic hole,
Mm-hmm.
and it was right there in between Jackie and Barry and I, and we heard this like snapping, 3 times, like finger snapping, and nobody was moving, and it was right there in the midst of us, the 3 of us. And we knew then it wasn't in the attic, and at the same time we saw a ball of light fly on the wall, and then Barry shuddered and pulled away from the wall because there was something that touched him behind, and then we started hollering, "Come down, come down!" That night, I can't explain how that night came down. It was almost like an orchestration of some kind, the way that it happened, and.
What are your feelings?
I don't discuss this with a lot of people because you kind of lose your credibility when you start talking about things that you see like that.
It's okay. We have no credibility.
Well, I don't either then.
Just go right ahead. Now, you're experiencing some paranormal activity at home in your house.
Oh, not for a long time. I haven't. Just there for a while, about a year ago when it was pretty intense happening to Jackie, and she came down here one time. It was after a time that she was here.
So it only has happened when Jackie has visited your home.
I think that originally there was an entity involved that connected somehow to in energy working through Jackie, and I think the entity has long released. And
what do you mean released?
And I don't think that that's what's active here still.
Is something
I think it's
different?
some form of energy that's working through Jackie unconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
And this is from my observation, and I've been involved with this pretty much since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what happened up in Weldon, only what I heard from them. And it was a lot of the same kind of things that happened in the house on 11th Street. But that was as close to it was a haunting, I guess. I don't know. How do you define these kind of things? You're dealing with something on the other side, and who knows anything for sure about what's on the other side?
Mm-hmm.
About energies or spirits or any of it.
So I don't
Your
suppose
guess is as good as mine, even if it's an educated guess. You know what I mean?
So you don't come over for a lot of slumber parties anymore?
No.
Yeah.
Come out to
I
hang.
don't have it anymore. It's like
Have pizza and panty parties?
It's good to laugh in a sense because you can start taking this stuff too seriously, and I think in a way, or in Jackie's case, it's something that needs to be taken seriously because it's followed this woman for 2 years now. 2 years. It's been the center of her life. She can't even have a normal life because these things constantly keep happening and keep happening and keep happening. And like I say, your guess is as good as mine as to why they happen.
Jackie, can you hear her on the phone? Yes. You can?
but it was the most bizarre. Bizarre. That's not even a good word. I don't think there's an adjective to describe that summer and what I saw in that house. I saw all kinds of light manifestations. I smelled smells that came out of nowhere that overpowered and almost would make us all pass out, and then would just as quick as they came, they would disappear. I heard voices like I've never heard any human or any animal.
The letters, the refrigerator jumped off at you.
Oh, the letters on the refrigerator. Yeah, I was talking to it one day and telling it, you can't be here. You can't be here. You can't keep punching whatever it was. You can't keep punching a hole through into our world. I said, you can't do that. You have to release and let go and go on where you're supposed to go. And I was standing in front of the refrigerator, and she had these magnetic letters for her son, who was about 2.5 or 3 at the time.
We're looking at them.
And WHY popped off, and they stung me. They hit me in the arm. They popped off the refrigerator and fell on the floor.
WHY.
Why? And one other time, after Jackie had moved, my sister and I went back to the house to check on the house. She was in the process of moving away. And my sister and I went in, and the refrigerator door flew open, and it said, "Get out."
Okay, a little experiment here.
It was, that was one of the last times I think that I went in that house. I just stayed away from that house.
And we're standing right in front of the refrigerator now where those letters still are. The letters are still on the freezer side of the refrigerator. So Kerry asked if you'd say what you said.
No, I don't think I want to talk to it. I don't think that I want to. I don't think that I want to connect with whatever it is, whether it be an energy or an entity.
All right, Kerry.
I really don't.
Kerry, from what you've heard, were you able to hear Susan speaking, Kerry? Okay. From what you've heard, is she a person that is just involved in the thing that Jackie is experiencing and just believing what Jackie says, or is she a genuine person who is frightened by what she's seen?
Well, I think she's clearly frightened, but there's no way I can really evaluate what she's saying without sitting down one-to-one with her and talking to her. So, but she's clearly frightened. That's why she wouldn't say anything right now.
It was frightening.
Let us ask you this.
And it's something that I don't care or choose to get involved in.
Well, what if
or try to get to manifest itself? I really, what I saw. I didn't seek out to see that summer. None of us were looking for that experience, and it happened, and I will never, ever forget it.
So you will not say what you said that night that made the letters?
No.
How about
No, I
you,
will
Jackie?
not.
Do you remember what she said? Could you repeat those words?
I don't know exactly what she said, but she said something like she was talking to the entity directly, and that's when the letters flew off. Susan, when she came over, she would talk to it. She was very firm with it, and she knew it was there. She was talking to it as if somebody would talk to a little kid.
I never went into the attic. I think I'm the only one that never went into the attic.
What did you say, Kerry?
Okay.
Jackie, if you want this to end, why don't you just do that now? Just tell it to leave in as strong a voice as you can.
I've done that on numerous occasions, but I will do it now.
I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just asking you to do it.
Okay. Whatever's in this room, whatever's been following me, I would very much like you to leave. I am very serious about this. I want you to leave my life. I want you to leave me and my children alone. I want you to do it now, and I don't want to ever see you or feel you again.
Thanks.
Okay. Let us ask you this. It's 25 minutes until Halloween itself. Is there anything special about October 31st as far as this whole predicament we're involved in here? Is that wall between the spirit world and our material world thinner?
Other than a massive rush on tooth decay for children?
No, I don't really think there's anything special. We actually had an experience on the entity case. We were there on Halloween. It was a full moon. We had video cameras set up everywhere, and it was the one night that nothing happened.
So, as far as your experience,
Well, they were busy. They were out.
they
got to go out.
A lot of parties going on. You got to check that out.
Actually, I think they were at Brian's house that night.
Because they're pissed about the Dr. Pepper deal.
Hey, they were great costumes.
All right, so again, from your experience, there's no connection between Halloween and this whole deal.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Okay, well, in this particular breakup, speaking to Jackie one more time, when we got here, you said that you'd been feeling all day that something was going to happen, that you felt its presence here. Now, Kerry asked you to ask it to leave, which you just did very firmly.
Right.
How do you feel now? Any differently?
No, I've done this on several occasions. I have asked it to leave, even firmer than this. I have gotten up and read the Bible like I was Reverend Jesse Jackson. And, just, I would do anything that anybody told me to do to get rid of this thing. And it has never ceased. And I will do anything. I will keep inquiring as to how to get rid of it. And I will keep doing what people tell me to do because I don't know how to get rid of it. And somebody out there, somehow, it's gotta release.
Go ahead,
get
Kerry.
away from me.
Go ahead, Kerry.
The word poltergeist has come up several times tonight, and I just wanted to clarify. Poltergeist phenomena, the current theory anyway that we're working on, is that it's energy being given off at a subconscious level, generally by pubescent or adolescent children, that causes objects to move, lights to go on and off, doors to open and close. Nobody's doing it intentionally, but it has to do with living sources. It has nothing to do with entities, ghosts, spirits, or anything else. It is energy being given off by a living source, which means that if we talk about something following a person, it may not be that there are entities following Jackie. It may be that she is the source of this phenomena in some way, and not intentionally, of course, but that the phenomenon is happening around her because of this energy that she is giving off.
So what do we do to get rid of this? I mean, what's the... With that philosophy, how do you go about getting rid of it? I mean, every place I go, everything I do, this thing is going to be following me, or just because I have energy? Or is it one thing, or every place I go I pick up something else? Or I feel it's the one thing.
Well, historically, there's good news on your side. These things generally die out after a certain period of time on their own. They generally just stop.
Okay, we'll set the picture for you one more time, then we'll go to a commercial here and give Joe back a show for a while. We're in a one-bedroom apartment in San Pedro. We've turned the lights out at Kerry's request. Again, the arcs of light seem to be the one constant in these paranormal activities, and that would be obviously the easiest way to spot the arcs of light. Are you feeling something there? What are you doing?
It feels cold. It's very cold right in this
It's
area.
what?
It's cold.
Mic her.
It's very cold right here in this...
In that area right there?
Yes, it's very cold in this area right here.
Right in this area.
I feel cold.
It is.
It's sitting in this chair, maybe.
It is. There's a draft maybe, right?
Go outside, you'll feel warm.
I'll stand over here. Anyway, there's a back bedroom. We're going to tell you that it's a very unpopular place to be, it seems. But the lights are all out in here, and nobody wants to go back there. Kerry has a couple of times.
Maybe on the next break we can do that. And again, as Brian was saying, the only thing we've had happen so far tonight was a power outage that happened in this one unit. The rest of the building was wired and had electricity. We can't explain that. So at this point, we're kind of hanging and waiting. We have a group of people. We have Barry, who is the independent film producer, making a documentary on this. Kerry Gaynor, a parapsychologist, which you'll hear from more tomorrow on our program. And we are in San Pedro broadcasting live from a situation that has been known to be haunted.
We'll be back in just a few minutes. Mark and Brian on the Joe Bingen Show.
Hey, Joe.
We'll be back in a minute. We're going to do one more break here, and we know you got your local Licks show. So we're going to bed down after this break and come in tomorrow morning at 5:30 and start the broadcast from the studios at 6 and tell you what happened.
All right, now, we thought we would spend the last break that we have in this bedroom that everybody seems to be a bit iffy as far as going in there. Now, Kerry has spent some time by himself. In fact, we were just walking down the hallway, and he was sitting in there by himself. Do you feel some sort of thing in that room, or do you go in there because people have said that's where things have happened?
I'm just in there to see if anything happens. It's one of the places where people have said things were going on, so I was just sitting and waiting and hoping, but I didn't feel anything.
All right, where's Jackie? There's Jackie. Why don't you walk in with Kerry and Mark and I, just us four go in there, and shut the door and sit there for a second and finish this particular break up. And then, as we said, we're going to bed down here and then go into the studio tomorrow morning and tell you, if anything, what happened.
All right, again, not to bring it up, but we're 9 minutes away from Halloween, and not that that would have any connection whatsoever. Kerry himself said Halloween has nothing to do with these kind of things.
Okay, this room is pitch dark, pitch black. In fact, we're bumping into things as we walk in.
I'll shut the door.
Kerry Kurlop, our parapsychologist, Mark and Brian, and Jackie. Jackie, we're all standing in here now. The door's shut.
All right, now, Jackie, you have said on several occasions throughout this broadcast that you felt as though today was going to be a vibrant day in this particular situation. Do you currently feel any... Where are you, Jackie?
I got the mic on right here.
Okay. Do you currently feel anything special?
Yes, I do. I still feel its presence.
You said earlier it was in a bad mood. Sometimes its moods change. What's a good mood like?
A good mood is like when it's a prankster, when it just does little things that don't really bother me. But when it's in a bad mood, it seems to like really show you that it's in a bad mood. Just almost as if a person, you know, like when a person's in a good mood, they're joking, and when they're not, they're angry, and they display their anger. It's almost the same thing.
All right, is this the bedroom where the kids stay?
My son won't sleep in here, but my daughter does.
Why won't your son sleep in here?
He's experienced too much. He's just older.
And your daughter has no problem because she's so young, she doesn't really know.
Right.
Okay. Kerry Gaynor again is in here with us. And Kerry,
Somewhere.
Kerry, you've been in here on a couple of instances tonight, and at this point have seen nothing and felt nothing.
That's correct. I haven't seen or witnessed anything.
How many minutes, Joe? Can you hear us in the studio?
Sure, I've been listening to every word.
Okay. How many minutes till midnight?
7.5.
Okay, and again, as Kerry has told us, it doesn't, as far as he's concerned, have any special connection with anything to do with the spirit world or ghosts or entities, but it does seem as though that time of the year, being Halloween, we all tend to focus on things like this, which is why we're here tonight. So, again, to report, the only thing we have experienced that would be abnormal would be a power outage. We're in an apartment building, and we had a power outage in this unit only. This one apartment lost all power, and no other apartment unit inside this building did.
And probably a coincidence. Things like this happen all the time to radio stations, especially, seems to KLOS. Had a power outage during our show today.
Now, Kerry, one of the things that Barry, who is the independent film producer doing the documentary, he keeps talking about that has been very consistent with this particular case is these balls of light that appear out of nowhere.
And you've witnessed those balls of light yourself in the entity case.
Well, not only have I witnessed them, but certainly in the 750 cases that I've investigated, balls of light are the most frequently reported visual phenomena that we come across.
And so, what exactly are these balls of light that you have seen? And if we were to see one here, what would that be?
Well, certainly nobody knows what they are, and that's what we're trying to determine, but
What?
What'd you say?
The light just went on in the bathroom and there was no one in there.
Okay, hang on here.
Does that
Now,
happen?
I was just looking through this. There's a door here with no doorknob, and I was just looking through that.
All the lights in the house go on and off on occasion. It's just...
And no one was in there, Chris?
No one was in
Was
there.
looking-
Everyone was in the room with me. Everyone was in the room with me. No one was near,
I was
near
just
that room.
looking through this hole in this where the doorknob should be, which the doorknob kind of aims right towards the bathroom, the hole. And I saw this light flash, and I thought, well, why is someone turning on a light when we're doing this? And then you come up on your knees and say, the light just went on in the bathroom.
Whenever Engineer Chris gets on his knees, we all party. But now what could that be, Kerry? A light coming on by itself.
well, the first step with that kind of a situation is to get an electrician out here and try to determine if there's any physical cause for this. But lights going on and off, again, are the kind of thing we encounter all the time doing this kind of research.
Would it do us any good? Would it behoove us to go into the bathroom and shut the door? Does that mean that it's there, or it's just letting us know something's going on, possibly?
Well, why don't we start by just turning the light off and see if it'll turn it back on again.
All right.
All right. Jackie, are you okay?
Mm-hmm.
Jackie's looking pretty distressed here. All right. What? Oh, that's the light from the video camera.
Oh.
You know, when Jackie goes,
we all
slightly freak out.
We all perk up on that deal.
Okay.
All right, we're still standing in the bedroom where the kids stay, or one of them, and the bathroom is about 4 to 5, maybe 6 feet away from us, and the bathroom light came on by itself. Engineer Chris came down to investigate.
It was just so weird. I was looking through that hole and saw a shadow. I thought I saw a shadow of some kind. And what it turned out to be was the little
the doorknob's missing.
The doorknob is missing, so it's the what do you call it? What is this thing called?
Doorknob hole? The Jimmy that catches the door?
The Jimmy that catches the door. There's the official name of it. And I was looking through that hole, and while I was looking through it, the light came on.
Okay. What time is it, Joe?
Joe, don't laugh like that.
It's 4 minutes before midnight.
Okay.
Oh, do that voice again. Yeah, we just...
You gotta hear it when I get paid.
You know, the thing of it is that I was going to go over and sit down on the bed.
Mm-hmm.
But in situations like this, all the fears that you've had as kids return to you. The fear of something grabbing you from under the bed just returned to me. So I've decided now not to sit down.
But I keep hoping that'll happen.
Thanks again, Kerry.
See, Kerry wants that to happen because
He's been sitting in this bedroom by himself, off and on, for 5 and 10 minutes at a time, waiting for something to come up and do something.
the light just went on by itself in the bathroom. All right, so two things. The power goes off for, what was it, about 7 minutes?
Yeah.
And then the bathroom light comes on.
Now, again, we keep mentioning the power outage, and we wouldn't do that if it weren't so unusual in that this was the only unit in the apartment building that lost power. All of the rest of them did not. Now, Kerry gave us a fine reason as to why that could be. There's a lot of equipment hooked up in this apartment, more than usual, and that would drain any type of power situation. But you never know. We're still standing in the bedroom. Bathroom light flipped on by itself, and we're just kind of hanging to wait and see. Joe has a program he'll start up at midnight, so again, as Brian mentioned earlier, we're going to bed down for the night. This will be our last broadcast of the evening.
And look, if the light coming on the bathroom and the power outage for 7 minutes is the only thing we have to report, fine with me.
Yeah, you know, we'll be honest.
Okay.
We do enter these things as skeptics, but we've had enough happen so far that tends to make you wonder, hey, okay, Engineer Chris, who is a credible engineer, a credible individual, came down and told us the bathroom light simply came on by itself.
And he was on his knees at the time.
And the phone's ringing. What could that mean?
Someone's calling, perhaps?
Possibly.
You know, fellas, if you want to hang a little bit longer, you're welcome. And if you want to call in anytime during my shift, you're welcome, too.
Maybe we could do it on a if something happens basis.
It's okay with me.
You know, because we've pretty much set up the story for you. We've told you what has happened, what the story is all about. We have nothing really left to report, and so if anything does take place, we'll get back on the air with you.
Kerry just made a suggestion that we should do one more segment. How long is your local licks?
Hey, we can start the local licks program whenever. I can go at quarter after if you want. The program itself runs about an hour.
Kerry, did you have anything yourself that you wanted to do?
Well, once something has happened, it's just kind of intriguing to see if we can get it to repeat again.
Yeah.
Okay, can you start it like a quarter after, 20 after?
I'm sure that every local musician in Southern California would be more than honored to wait until then. If not, to hell with them.
They're loading another bowl going, come on, guys.
I've been doing this show for 10 years. I think they can hold another 15 minutes or
All right,
so.
do you have anything you can do in between now? If we were to come back and do maybe one more break and say 10 minutes from now, can you roll a couple of tunes? Or
How
play
long
some...
have you guys known me?
Gee, since the early 50s.
Long enough to know that you may help us out with that, huh?
Okay, it's a deal.
Very kind, Joe.
Okay, we'll be right back after this here at KLOS, Los Angeles. Back out to San Pedro and see how Mark and Brian are doing.
Mark and Brian are doing just fine. Nothing has happened since the bathroom light was turned on.
We are... Phone ring!
What's happening?
Oh, God.
Phone ring.
Oh, jeez. All right, well, we're 11 minutes into Halloween at this point. We're digging that. By Kerry's request, we are doing one last break, one more break, and then we're going to bed down for the evening and resume our program tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock.
In the studio.
A special Halloween show.
Listeners who like to call the show, tomorrow we're doing ghost stories, among other things, other audience participatory things, and you're welcome to call up with your ghost story. We turn the lights down in the studio and get everything kind of creepy and eerie.
We also invite you, if you've never heard this, to tune in during the 8 o'clock hour, because after Todd is over, Kerry Gaynor, who is, again, the parapsychologist who investigated the motion picture The Entity. It was his investigation that brought the film to the screen. And he's going to come back in at our request and recap that story for you from beginning to end. And if you've not heard it, it is a riveting, very factual moment in what is now a situation that he himself cannot explain. So if you've not heard that, please do join us for that right around 8:30. Kerry Gaynor on the program. Then at 9 o'clock, we're going to be trick-or-treating by helicopter. We'll be arriving by helicopter at Universal Studios, and you're invited to come by and drop candy in the bag that we lower from the helicopter. And then we're going to be taking all the candy to a children's home. Or
a children's hospital, I believe.
Okay,
is it not?
hospital.
We're landing on top of a roof somewhere.
Yeah, and giving the candy. And We had the same concern that many of you listening may have had, in that the candy will be very heavily checked and
X-rayed.
Yeah, to make sure that it's clean and clear before the kids get a hold of it.
Okay, we are going to bed down now. Carrie's going to. You going to stay with us tonight, Carrie? Please, oh please. Maybe. He said. You know. And then again, we'll be back in the studio tomorrow. So.
Yeah, I heard the clicking too. Sounds like somebody snapping their fingers. You have it on KLOS. Mark and Brian, someplace hidden away in San Pedro. The snapping of the fingers was integral in the story they were telling earlier. Let's play another song here while I find out what happened to him. You got it on KLOS. That was certainly one of the strangest endings to a broadcast I've ever heard, and I have not yet established contact with the boys to see what's going on, but if anything turns up, you will be among the first to know here on KLOS. Mark and Brian from San Pedro, hidden away someplace down there. This is Joe Benson with, oh, it's Chris? And that's really strange. He's reporting that they can hear us here at the station, but we can't hear them, and none of the equipment is working. Okay. Well, look, that's good. They should go to bed. Okay, you hold on a second here, Chris. Hold on there. Yeah, sometimes you just got to wonder, don't you?
We have some information about this trick-or-treating from a helicopter to give you, so don't let us, and we're talking to you listeners, get out of this break without telling you what's going to happen today.
Nudge us if we try.
Yeah, don't
you
dare tell us. Let us get out of this break without us telling you that.
We are fresh and returning from the haunted woman, as she was...
Haunted lady, yeah.
Well, we're glad to see you back.
Jeez.
Thank you.
Did you hear any of it, Chuck?
No.
Yeah, neither did anybody else in this room.
I'm not sure we did.
Yeah.
We were just kind of there.
Yeah.
Well, what happened?
The weirdest thing that happened was the bathroom light went on all by itself.
Oh my God!
Yeah. we lost power in the
this was weird.
In the one-bedroom apartment that we stayed in.
That must have scared the heck out of you.
Only in that apartment, and this is a big complex full of apartments. So
the rest of the building had power.
Could have been a prank, someone knowing the room number, someone there was a lot of equipment in there.
That's the thing that now Kerry Gaynor, who is going to be coming in this morning around 8:30, he was the guy, the parapsychologist that brought you the movie The Entity. His excuse and explanation for that, well, he said it could have been that there's a lot of this equipment in here, and it could have,
And the only thing that happened last night that would, if it happened at your private home, if it happened there, you'd freak out, was the bathroom light went on and nobody was in it.
Yeah.
So that's really the only thing that happened. And then we went off to bed, and we were both very tired from the night before, so we pretty much slept through until about a half hour ago.
And if anything happened in between the time we went to bed and the time we got up, we didn't see it or hear it.
You could just see it probably standing over us going, hey! Hey!
Banging pots together.
Yeah,
we wouldn't have heard it.
Severed heads dancing past.
We wouldn't have heard it or seen it.
But it was kind of freaky there for the first couple of hours. We heard stories from, what's her name? Jackie. From Jackie and the haunted lady and Barry and Kerry Gaynor. And it was kind of fun, but also it was like we just didn't want to be there. We were tired.
Yeah, we were. We'd done it at the drive-in, and so we plugged in and we looked for and talked about and did everything humanly possible to bring something forth.
The light went off. Now, this is also kind of freaky. The light in the bathroom went off when Kerry said, now it was a one-bedroom apartment, and nobody wanted to go in the back room. We of course, had all the lights out in case there were light arcs or anything like that going on. And we decided, well, let's just go back there. So it was Kerry, Mark and Brian, and Jackie, the haunted lady. So we go back in the bedroom. It's pitch black. I mean, we're bumping into each other getting in there. We shut the door. And suddenly, and I look down, and I see the door has no doorknob. It's just a hole where the doorknob used to be. And, the latch thing is still there, and it made kind of a weird-looking shadow, so I started focusing in on that, and I'm not sure why, but I just stared at it, and suddenly this bright light comes beaming through that hole, and Engineer Chris runs up and knocks on the door and goes, the bathroom light just went on and nobody's in there. The bathroom light just went on and nobody's in there. The bathroom light just went on and nobody's in there.
So and when Engineer Chris does that, you tend to perk up and listen to him. So that's pretty much it. That's what took place. And if a spirit followed us in here, we'll find out at some point this morning. But we have spent the night in that haunted apartment.
And again, this is the third time we've done something like this, and we still have seen nothing or heard anything. that would prove to us that there is paranormal activity going on.
So, but don't think the question...
very well timed there.
Well, just don't think it ends there. We'll continue going, and we'll check them each year if we can find one that's interesting. So, okay, today we have quite a few things that are happening. First of all, we do invite you to drop by Universal Studios anytime between 8 and 9:15 this morning.
Or the station here before 9 o'clock.
We're going to be trick-or-treating by helicopter. And we're going to be driving by the Universal Studios and dropping our bag so that we can load up.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. Sure.
What are we doing?
There you go.
You're picking up stuff at Universal Studios. And
Okay.
you're dropping at the Children's Bureau.
Okay. Now, this Children's Bureau is a group of kids that won't have a chance to go trick-or-treating, so we're going to drop off all candy that we collect to these fine people.
The Children's Bureau of Los Angeles is a nonprofit agency that provides professional treatment to abused and neglected children in Southern California. So the planage is the Skylord is going to be coming to the station today about what time, 9-ish?
9-ish.
Around 9-ish, he'll be flying to the station in a helicopter, and then we're going to load up candy. Listeners, they're already starting to bring the candy down. We've bought a whole bunch of candy. And listeners, you're welcome to come in before 9 o'clock, drop off your candy. Then we'll load that up in the helicopter, fly to Universal Studios, where we'll lower our bag, and hopefully some more listeners will be there bringing some candy. There'll be a guy there. What's his name? Nicole.
Brian Pliska.
Yeah, he'll be collecting all candy, load it into the bags, and attach it to the rope that we'll lower down from the helicopter. Then we'll take them to the offices of the Children's Bureau in Los Angeles. We'll land on the heliport on the roof of the Department of Transportation building on 411 North Vermont. The building is next door to the offices of the Children's Bureau. And then we'll go ahead and donate the candy. There'll be a couple people out there, I guess, and know that the candy will be x-rayed and screened before given to any children.
So if you want to help out in that venture, again, Universal somewhere between 8 and 9:15, and if you can just have it there, if you have to, drop it off and go, that's fine too. It'll be given to us by their person. So
plus listener ghost stories. Listener ghost stories. This is one of our favorite things to do. Because listeners come up with some great ghost stories.
We've got a couple, 3 ourselves, and we'll share those with you at some point. And then if you have one that's true, something happened to your family or somebody in your family or somebody that you know, true is good. Doesn't have to be, but true is neat.
But nobody called up and said, hey, the bathroom light just went on, because we've done that one.
Been there.
We've done that scary piece of folklore.
Experienced that thing. So we don't need that.
Folklore. Folklore. And then Channel 4 is here. Yeah, where's the deets on that? KNBC will do a live shot. Okay. I guess they're doing something about how people wake up in the morning on their morning news show. And so they came and interviewed us.
Oh, God.
And then they asked if they could do just a live cut-in sometime today between 6:45 and 7 o'clock, which we won't be on the air at the time.
So if you'd like to see something frightening,
yeah,
check it out.
We've been, sleeping in an apartment all night. And
slept on a floor.
Yeah. I had my penguin blanket.
So...
Mark said, brought my sleeping bag. I said, brought my penguin blanket.
Hey, we got what we need, dude.
It's the king ping, baby.
It's just what the Marines take when they're on maneuvers.
That's what they do. And a king
penguin blanket.
So that'll be happening between 6:45 and 7 o'clock. And then, as we said, listener ghost stories. And then Kerry Gaynor, the parapsychologist, will be coming in and telling us about his experience as he discovered the entity case, which they made a movie out of.
Riveting stuff, though, if you've never heard it. He's a real factual, doesn't state anything, doesn't stretch the truth. He tells you exactly, factually, what he saw. And it is real neat to listen to. And then go see the movie. All right, let's take us a break. We are here. We have arrived. We are living. We could be possessed by something, but we're sitting here now. We invite you to stand by. It is the pre-big post-haunted house Halloween Mark and Brian show.
Yum, yum. Be back in a minute.
Good morning, everyone. This Kim.
95.5 KLOS, the Halloween show here in the Mark and Brian program.
How you doing out there?
What is this, Wednesday? Hey, it's the
pre.
It's the pre-big.
But we just kind of like it's the
It's it's one of those P things. It's a P big.
Okay, a couple of things very quickly now. We will be trick-or-treating by helicopter today. We invite you to either meet us at Universal around 9:15 in parking lot Z, or go by before you head to work and drop off your bag of candy, because once we've collected what we're going to be getting, we're going to be taking that to a group of fine young people at the Children's Bureau of Los Angeles, which is a nonprofit agency. And we'll drop all that candy off. It'll all be checked and x-rayed and then distributed to the kids, and any candy that you give will go to them.
It's an important organization. Again, it provides personal treatment to abused and neglected children of Southern California. So who better to get the candy? Now, if you can't make it down to Universal, what you can do is drop off some candy, whatever you got here at the studios at 3321 South La Cienega Boulevard. And for God's sakes, enjoy the incredible view of the Frankenbob.
Because it's hanging right over La Cienega, baby.
Yeah, right here on the top of the building.
Looking firm.
No, that ought to be enough of a cause to come down here, huh?
Yo!
Well, then maybe not. But the candy's important for the kids.
And bring the candy, if you're bringing it down to the radio station, bring it down here by 9 o'clock because we take off. We need to load that bad boy and be out of here. Also, Kerry Gaynor is going to be here, a parapsychologist, describing to you a very factual account of the events that led to the movie, The Entity. He was the guy that investigated that, so be here with us for that one, too.